Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live stream that's part of Global Astronomy Month, the 16th annual largest festival in astronomy and the night sky in the world. I'm your host, Andrew Fizakis, the night sky guy, here with Astronomers Without Borders. If you're not familiar with us, we are a small nonprofit, international. We're in 143 different countries. We've got over 10,000 members across the world. And what we do is we build community using astronomy, doing good and also being able to do outreach, STEM outreach, providing resources to underserved communities around the world, basically democratizing the access to the night sky. That's what our mission is at Astronomers Without Borders. And it's so great that you can join us today. We've got a great lineup of guests today that's part of our cultural storytelling live stream, where we're going to hear stories about the night sky throughout this show from different parts of the world. So it's really exciting. And we'll also have some follow-up posts on our social media sites. So whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, or if you're part of our Instagram feed or on X as well, you will see social posts regarding night sky stories from around the world that we'll be sharing. So take a look at that. And if you like what you see, you find value in this show and what we provide, the content, then please give us a thumbs up. Make sure you share it with your network. And of course, subscribe to our channel, whether it's Facebook or YouTube that you're watching. It means a lot. It allows us to bring these kind of great shows into your home. And of course, if you do find value, we'd also love to have a donation to help build community through science outreach. That's what we're about, and every dollar counts. And we'll have a link to where you can support us in the comments below. And of course, if you have any questions as well for our guests, please, regarding night sky stories, you can also, what you're hearing from them, you can just post that in the comments section as well. So, and if you're interested in what the lineup of events for Global Astronomy Month are, you can check that out at gam-awb.org. That's gam-awb.org, gam-awb.org. It's as simple as that, and you'll see a lineup of different things in our schedule that we've done already. If you've missed some of the shows, they're on there on YouTube and Facebook for you to enjoy as well. So without further ado, let me bring in our guests today. I've got them lined up in Zoom, so we'll just bring them in. Hey guys. Hi. So what we have here is a wonderful lineup of guests from around the world. Uh, these individuals are all part of our AWB community, Astronomers Without Borders national coordinators. These are amazing individuals who are doing great in their local community, doing outreach, bringing astronomy to the public, sharing the night sky, because as our message here, of course, at AWB is one people, one sky. That's what we're about. And they're so passionate, these individuals. And they'll be sharing stories with us from their local region and their experience as well. And so we're going to start with Norman Marigza, who is our national coordinator in the Philippines. Hi, Norm. So nice of you to join. Maybe you can quickly just give us a little brief taste of what you do as our national coordinator. What are some of the things that you're involved in your local community before you give us the stories that you have to share today?
Hello, everyone. I'm the national coordinator for the Philippines, and I am currently most of what I do is involved around astronomy outreach, education, and communication. So that's most of the things that I've been doing. I serve as one of the national astronomy education coordinators, and as well as a dark sky ambassador, and work with different groups, particularly student groups, uh, serving together in different capacities in promoting astronomy.
That's great, Norm. Thank you. And go ahead and share some of these stories that you've collected.
Right. So when we talk about our cultural stories, you know that based on how we see the Greek constellations, that they sometimes depict the gods, the different myths, and even sometimes creation stories. So there are different aspects when you talk about star lores, right? Now, for the Philippines, in this particular case, given that we are an archipelago, we actually have a very rich diversity of stories coming from different cultural groups, given how some areas might be remote, some areas have shared cultures, and all these things come into play. So one particular story has been shared in our AWB Facebook group, Facebook page, where I shared the story of the anak datu, the two children of the datu who were seeking out the buntal or the bunta, the pufferfish, which is the constellation Crux. So the anak datu is the Rigel Centaurus and uh, the Alpha and Beta Centauri. So basically, they are spearfishing for the pufferfish, and this plays into the story in which uh, the culture references their day-to-day lives. So fishing, their fishing practices, and many such stories come into play when you think of star lords in different countries and different cultures. So another story from coming from that same group, from the Jama Mapun, or the people of Mapun in Tawi-Tawi, we have the uh, constellation Tanggong. The constellation Tanggong, uh, in comparison to the constellations that we have, would be the constellation Aquila, the eagle. So if we look at Aquila the eagle, we see the three prominent stars, the bright stars, with the one in the middle being Altair, and then you have the Beta and Gamma, so you have Alshain and Tarazed. And these stars represent three individuals. And the story behind the Tanggong tells about basically the origin of rice farming. So in the story, the three stars are represented by three individuals: Thong and his two wives, Masikla and Mayuyu. So in the story, it's similar to Pandora's box wherein curiosity comes in. So first, Masikla was preparing food inside a pot. So she put in some grass leaves and kept it sealed. And while she was doing that, while it was being prepared, she went out to the river to catch fish and instructed Mayuyu to keep watch and do not open the pot. But because Mayuyu was very curious, she opened the pot and discovered that it contained rice grains and leaves. So when Masikla returned and saw that, she scolded Mayuyu, saying that if you didn't open the pot, people wouldn't have to work to plant rice for them to have food. Now, in another instance, Tong, their husband, went out into the field to work. But Masikla and Mayuyu were not really aware of what he was doing. So Mayuyu, in her curiosity, followed Tong and eventually saw that he was just relaxing, playing his bamboo flute, while eventually his farming tools, were working to clear the field on its own. So when Mayuyu saw this, she confronted Tong, and eventually the tools, being disturbed, suddenly fell down and stopped working. And because of this, Tong got enraged and said, if you didn't bother them, if you didn't disturb them, then people wouldn't have to work to farm for their food. So because of this, they both got frustrated with Mayuyu and decided to leave for the heavens. Now Mayuyu, being sad and that didn't want to be left alone, she followed after Masikla and Tong. That's why if you see the stars, Masikla, Tong, and Mayuyu, so this is Tarzed, Altair, and Al-Shain, they always rise up together in a line. And this also has become used in a practical sense for the people of the Jama Mapun, in the sense that they use this as a sign for them to know when it's now time to prepare the fields for farming. So the connection of the story as well as the practical aspect of using it as a seasonal marker is there in this particular story.
That's so neat. That's really neat, Norm. And you know, I mean, it's amazing what as you're telling this story, you know, is that there is a lot of emotional, there's like relationships that are involved in this you know, in these stories, and they're transposed, I guess, onto the sky. It's very, very interesting. So there makes it makes the skies much more relatable for people, right? Average person. It's really, really amazing. Thank you very much, Norma, for contributing. That's really, really cool. So we have coming up, we have Exodus, who is our national coordinator for Hong Kong. Hi, Exodus.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here.
It's great to have you. Maybe you can start off a little bit about what kind of things you're doing in astronomy where you live.
So I'm living in Hong Kong, and personally, I am a transmedia astronomy educator and also a popular science author. And in the past few years, I've contributed into a lot of different astronomy education and also the science communication work related to dark sky protections and some initiative about inclusive education and also for the popularization of astronomy in science education.
That's amazing. Amazing. Exodus, share with us the stories that you have collected.
Okay, so today I would like to share about my expeditions to Australia, about the culture of the cultural astronomy in Australia. Okay. And I will also share about the astrophotography. So after the COVID, around 2 years ago, I've visited to Tasmania, Australia, which is a places, a really isolated island in the really south part of the Australia, and you can see some really beautiful pictures that is actually captured in the airplane by using a cell phone, which is the Milky Way. That I saw it in the plane in the nighttime. It's a really great experience. And so Tasmania is a places which is far from the inner island of Australia. That would be really closer to the Antarctica, which is a places that we really isolated and protected with a lot of biodiversity protections and natural conservations. And a really important city called the Hobart, which is the places that's allowing a lot of the Antarctica expert to travel to Antarctica in this city, and which is a really good places that we have chances not only observing the Milky Way in the nighttime, but also having chances to observing the Southern Lights, which also called the Aurora Australis. And it's a really great time that in Australia, there's a lot of different culture, astronomy. Before that, I want to also introducing that the dark sky protection in Australia, which is a really great place for protecting the biodiversities, including the little penguins, which is one of the smallest penguin in the world, that having chances to observe it in the nighttime. What about the constellation and also the stargaze experience in Australia, which is really great that we can see the Milky Way in the southern hemisphere, that we can see in the naked eye, and we can also, by capturing it by using some simple camera and also or even using our mobile phone, cell phone to capture the Milky Way, is really great places. Because in Hong Kong, we are living in a places affected by the urban light pollutions, and we can have chances to see really great Milky Way. What about the cultural astronomy in the Australia? So a really symbolic things which called the animal in the sky. It's a really significant aboriginal constellations in that region in Australia. That's which is a really seasonal indicators, allowing the people living there especially for people living in the nature, they can have chances to know more about the time and the seasons. For example, in different position of the AMU, the Milky Way, that they can see. For example, in April and May, the AMU will rise after the sunset and allowing, reflecting the stars of beating and also allowing the people to know more about the days and time in that regions, especially inform the local people at the time of the hunting and also the cultural ceremonies. And we can capture it in the Australia that about the emu in the sky. So emu is actually a really big bird, the second largest bird in the world, and it's really great that we can know more about the imaginations of some original Aboriginal culture in different places. Even some of them might be some ancient constellations, and we can see that there are a lot of different interesting facts about the constellations that we can see. For example, the Milky Way, by the imaginations of the cultural people, they can connecting it with the daily things that they can see, the nature, and there are a lot of different things. For example, the animal species that they can see, and they will, we inform that into, we imagine it into some kind of constellations that they can see in the nighttime in the sky, with a lot of different stories and some religious stuff that they believe, and they could, by using the nighttime, that they can see different stars, different Milky Way or different constellations, and they can share the stories and their religious things to other people, and it can be transformed with different generations. And this is my sharing about the sky culture in Tasmania, and it's a really great place with the Dark Sky Initiative, and we can see the Milky Way, and we can know more about the culture of the night sky in Australia, which is really precious things that can be continued throughout different generations, and allowing more people to know more about the importance of the dark sky protections without borders and without the limitation. Because a lot of places, especially in the city area in Australia, that have been affected by light pollution, and some places in the central city of the Hobart might not be able to see the emu in the sky. So it's a really precious thing to share and to spread out through the generation.
Thank
And
you
this is my
very
sharing one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Exodus. And just a quick question. I mean, the photography that you're doing, a lot of that, I guess, this kind of that you've been showing, you need darker skies, right, to see
Yeah.
these. So I think what's interesting is that the, some of these figures that are seen in the sky between the stars, that are part of this cultural mythology, do you find that they require to see those figures darker skies? They really are very important, because with all the light pollution problems that are happening.
Yeah, actually, for capturing the picture of this, the emu in the sky, I spent around 2 to 3 hours to a marine with conservation area, which is probably Bordeaux scale 1 place with almost no light pollution, and we can see the Milky Way really clearly in our naked eye. So I think light pollution might be one of the factors that are affecting people to know more about the constellations and the story behind, because for people living in the urban areas, for example in Hong Kong, we can only see some significant bright stars in the nighttime. So unless the Orion constellations, and we are no longer having chances to know more about other darker constellations in the nighttime, unless the planets, unless the other planets of the solar system, moon, and also some really bright stars that we can see.
Yeah, yeah, it's really amazing to be able to see some of this in through your photography, because it allows us to see, I think, how the sky might have looked more in ancient times before light pollution, when people actually saw the Milky Way, right? Nowadays, people don't even see the Milky Way anymore because they're in the cities. Yeah.
Yeah, just like connecting with people in the past, many probably hundreds of years ago, and through the lifetime, we see the same constellation, ancient constellations, and we have that connections across the time, I think.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Exodus, thank you very much for contributing today, and best of luck to all the great work you're doing in Hong Kong for us. Thank you. Um, Next up, we have Raoul in Belgium. Raoul is our national coordinator for Belgium, and Raoul, yeah, you're up next, and maybe you can start very, very briefly with your background there in Belgium for us, your connection to astronomy, and then share your story with us.
Okay, Andrew, I'm Raoul Lanois, and I live in Gembloux, which is near the geographical center of Belgium. I used to live in Antwerp, so I have lots of connections in Flanders and in Wallonia, as French is my first language. And I'm a member of 4 different clubs. I'm president of one of them. So I know lots of people, and we have yearly an event going on in August, which is the Night of the Shooting Stars. And in October, we have the Night of Darkness to show what the light pollution effect is in the places where we live. And we try to spread in as many towns as possible in Belgium to demonstrate what light pollution is. But we also have sometimes events that are, unexpected, like a partial solar eclipse or a transit of the moon across the Pleiades and so on. And that's also something we can share. We have good communication between the clubs, and I can communicate with Flanders very easily thanks to their own forum, and it must reach lots of people. So it's been like that for years. We connect now thanks to the internet too. What I'm going to show today is it's a Frenchman. His name is Lucien Rudeau. He's an artist, painter, and an astronomer. He was born in 1874 and died in 1947. I'm going to see if I can show something. Yeah. What he says is, he writes, man, the inhabitant of Earth, has long been ignorant of the true nature of the world in which his life unfolds, of its form and dimensions, and of the position in relation to the universe. In his defense, it could hardly be otherwise. That's him with a telescope. And one of the things he's famous for, really interesting, is that he looked at the moon very often, and he drew the moon, he painted the moon the way he saw it, not the way he did paint the moon the way he thought it would be, but he also noticed things that were quite unusual, like on Mount Leibniz, like in this painting, you have gentle hills, Vosgian. In France, you have the Vosges and the Alps. The Alps have sharp edges, points, and the Vosges are very old, much older mountains that are softer with gentle hills. And he noticed that Mount Leibniz, near the South Pole of the moon, had gentle hills. And he's the first one ever to notice the true shape of the mountains on the moon, thanks to his observation and also the fact that he painted and showed it to the world. And that's recognized even in the United States. And in fact, I think I remember seeing the name Lucien Rudeau in English written publications earlier than in French. But he also had like everybody else, an interest in some features on the moon, like the straight wall, rupes recta. And at the time, he thought that rupes recta was a cliff on the moon. I mean, 113 or 130 long cliff on the lower side of the moon. And in fact, it is not. It's not a cliff. It's a gentle slope, a 7-degree slope downwards. And it's only looking like a cliff because the sun is very low above the horizon when we can see it with our telescope. And he also showed, he imagined features on the moon, the way they looked at, like it was all mainly dark, black and white. And he has lots of other pictures. I'm going to see if I can show them right. Okay. One of the things he drew to were planets, and in the Encyclopedia Le Ciel by 1923, my grandfather showed the book when I was 7 in 64, and in one of the pages you see Jupiter and Saturn here, Jupiter on the top and Saturn below. Saturn, I was very astonished. Is that a planet? Yes, and it has rings. So it's the first time ever I noticed that there are rings around the planet in the solar system. I wasn't really interested in astronomy at the time. I was too young, but that's one of the first encounters I have with the real world, even though they are drawings. But, in the past, Tintin, for instance, our comic strip hero, he went to the moon, explores on the moon, and all the mountains have sharp edges. He was wrong. And it's only in 1971 that I remember noticing and realizing that actually all mountains on the moon have gentle slopes and not sharp edges. And that's thanks to, namely, Rudeau, who pointed out the fact it may be not as spectacular for paintings, but it's the true thing. And that's because the micrometeorites erode the surface of the moon in such a way that nothing remains sharp. The things on the Earth, the mountains that are sharp are young. They have not had the time to be eroded by the atmosphere, the wind, and water. And as there is no wind and no water on the moon, everybody thought that we'd find sharp edges all over the place. But actually, what happens is that because you don't have an atmosphere, you also have micrometeorites hitting the ground all the time. Now, one thing we would like to know is how often, according to our surface, and that's why we should return back to the moon and see the old places where the astronauts with the Apollo program landed, take pictures of them and compare with the pictures 50, 60 years ago and see how different the landscape is, thanks to the fact that one day Lucien Rudeau alarmed us that, well, the mountains don't have sharp edges, they have gentle slopes. Okay.
That's really cool. That it's very interesting, Raul. Listening to uh, this this uh, this information about Lucien Rudeau, because many people, when we talk, we're talking about cultural storytelling, right? But what you're referencing here is really an individual who influenced modern storytelling through his visions of, and it's like scientifically accurate visions of other worlds. So, obviously the moon, which has a great cultural significance for cultures dating back thousands of years, but he had the advantage of having a telescope to look through, right? He was
Yes.
able to see through the telescope, see these features on the moon, and then create artwork that represented scientifically, with scientific accuracy, what that would be like if you were on the moon, if you were
Yes.
able to be on the moon. And that influenced a lot of modern storytelling in the form of movies. So, like we can see science fiction movies, novels, science fiction. There's like a whole, and other artwork. And I know like Lucien Rudeau was very influential in space art in
Yes.
general. I mean, he's considered the grandfather of space art, of bringing that to a very wide audience, of influencing the imagination of people. And then, people like very famous artists later who came is like Chesley Bonestell.
Yes.
Was heavily influenced. He's considered the father of modern space art, while Lucien was the grandfather of space art. And it's really interesting because this is your story is not something of this, like talking about Lucien Rudeau is not what traditionally people may think of cultural storytelling, but it is a modern cultural storytelling individual, influencer here. That's really what he was. He's an original influencer back in the day of when artwork was there to start to represent, the world around us, but beyond our planet. So I think it's just it's a great kind of positioning here in our collection of stories that we're telling today. It's a very different take, but it is part of that storytelling of the night sky. So thank you very much for this, Raul. It's a great, great, great participation in this today's live stream. We're very lucky. We've got another speaker on joining us, Eden Orion from Israel. Eden, are you there? Eden is our national
Yes,
coordinator for
yes, yes.
AWB in Israel, and
Yes,
it's great. Thank you for joining us, Eden.
thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. I'm on a trip because we have a vacation now. This is the Passover here in Israel. So I'm in a little trip, and now I found a room in a hotel so I can join this conversation.
That
And
is
I
fantastic. Yeah, I mean that it's great timing. And we've been traveling the world, listening to stories from different regions. We've been to Philippines, we've been to Belgium, we've been to Hong Kong. We'd love to hear the stories that you can share.
I have a little story. I hope that I can share this with you because I'm with my phone here and not with my computer, but I will try. So I will share, let's see, an image from file. Let's see if I can share this image. Okay. So just tell me if everybody can see this image.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so the story is about this image. The image tells us the story of the Last Supper of Jesus. It was painted by Piero Lorenzetti in the 14th century. it is a wall painting in the Church of Assisi in Italy. So this is really a Middle Ages painting, a very interesting painting, because we can see the Last Supper, and on the side of the picture, we can see the kitchen where the people were cleaning the dishes after the supper. It's like a kind of a comics of such a painting. You can see even a cat in the lower part of the left part eating what was left in the saucers of this supper. But what interested me was the moon, and we can see the moon also in the left part of the image on the upper side of the image. And you can see that the moon is crescent, is not a full moon. Now we have to remember that Jesus was at the first he was born as a Jew, and the Last Supper was celebrated as the Passover event of the Hebrew or Jewish people those days, and they were celebrating the Exodus from Egypt about 1,500 years before. And this event is, we celebrate it every year. We celebrate it not about, 2 days ago, also here in Israel. It is celebrated in the middle of a Hebrew month called Nisan, which is parallel to April. And in the middle of a Hebrew month is always a full moon. The Hebrew months or the Jewish months are based on the moon cycle, and the middle of the month is always a full moon. But if we look on the moon in this painting, we see it's a crescent moon. It's not a full moon. And I was studying this picture about 20 years ago when I was studying Middle Ages art class, and I asked the lecturer, tell me why we see a crescent moon, because this is the Leil Seder, this is the supper of Passover of the Jews. Why it is not a full moon? And the lecturer couldn't answer me this question. So I was participating astronomy forum here in Israel, and I asked some astronomers, if amateur astronomers, if maybe they know the answer. And one of them suggested, check in the NASA calendars if there was a moon eclipse, a lunar eclipse in this year. So I asked what year was the Last Supper, and according to some historians, the Last Supper occurred in the year of 31 to the counting of the years, when Jesus was 31 years old. And so I searched in NASA calendars, and it was bingo. In April of the year 31, there was a full lunar eclipse. And also in some of the books of the messengers after Jesus, one of them wrote that the moon in this evening was totally red, which is also indicates a lunar eclipse. And so I don't know if Lorenzetti, the guy who painted this painting, knew about this event that there was a lunar eclipse, but it is a very interesting coincidence. So I thought it will be maybe interesting to show it to you. I don't know if this is the truth, but it is interesting coincidence. This is the story.
That's amazing. That is really, really cool. Uh, that's amazing to see. I'm like amazed at the painting that you're showing, that I can see that little crescent moon there in the upper left-hand corner. And, from there we can start, imagining all these different things that we can see. I mean,
Yes.
see back in time what the sky was like, and find out, do detective work to find it.
in the same church, excuse me, in the same church there's also a very famous painting of Giotto, who painted the shining star above the place where Jesus was born, and this is he painted really the Halley comet, but he thought the Halley comet was also the star that was shown when Jesus was born, and this is one of the scientific remarks or evidence that somebody saw the comet of Halley, and years after this, I guess it was 20 years ago or 15 years ago, there was a spacecraft called about this painter Giotto, who painted this painting.
It's really incredible, and the idea of being able to track down when there's total lunar eclipses as well from the descriptions,
Mhm.
that is quite something, to be able to use. And what's interesting is that even with software that we have today, planetarium software allows us to go
Mhm.
back in time. So I guess
Yeah.
people, like once you find these things, you could, anyone with these planetarium programs on their phones can actually recreate the sky, what it looked like on any date, even back 2000 years ago.
People use these techniques also these days when they are trying to see exactly what, for example, Vincent van Gogh saw when he painted the Starry Night painting, because we have the date that he painted this painting. Or there's another interesting painting of Van Gogh that shows a cafe. I don't remember the place, but he painted there the Big Dipper and the Small Dipper. Everything is detailed, and because we know the date when he painted it, every 19 years the same stars and the same scenery will show again, and people come every 19 years to this place to see what Van Gogh saw when he painted these paintings. There's also a very important photograph by Ansel Adams, Moon over El Capitan, which is a big rock in Yosemite. And because we know this exact day when Ansel Adams photographed the moon above El Capitan rock, people gathering there every 19 years to see and photograph the same scenery again and again every 19 years, which is called the melatonic cycle.
That's incredible. Yeah, and all from artwork, so that you can see, and
Yeah.
the vision of one person and and their ability to show, to basically create some artwork and tell a story
Mhm.
through that. It's incredible. And then we can now do the investigative work of something on artwork like that was sometimes, in some cases, that are thousands of years old.
Mhm.
It's really incredible, and you can see that connection again of the night sky, what a deep impact it has on people. It really is incredible. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, Eden, for dropping by,
Thank you very much.
and it was fantastic. And I wanted to thank everyone for joining today, all our guests from around the world. Fascinating to hear these stories. And if anyone has any questions, please do drop them in. And if you want to tell your story, we'd love to hear your story. Just put them in the comments. Maybe you can link them to, if you have a place, a blog or something. We'd love to have more stories. So do share them on there. And of course, you can also join AWB. We welcome new members. Sign up to be a new member. You can visit astronomerswithoutborders.org and become a member and share your stories and see what the big community that we have from around the world in 143 countries is all about. So this has just been a fantastic time, and we have more coming up in GAM, by the way. This is, we're going to have more opportunities to explore the night sky. We'll be doing live tours of the night sky coming up, I know, on April 23rd. You don't want to miss that. That's with our national coordinator in Italy, Gianluca Massi, and his virtual telescope project, which has gained a lot of attention in the last few years in the media. He's going to be doing a live tour for us of deep sky. I think it's called the Deep Sky Cruise. It just sounds lovely, and we'd love for you to join us for that live stream, and that's going to be on April 23rd. And stay tuned for more information on specific times for that. But you can see all that information on our Global Astronomy Month page, where you can visit gam-awb.org. And if you liked what you saw today, you like this kind of content, you like to support STEM outreach, we need your support. People like you supporting us allows AWB to do the good work that we do around the world. If it means a tremendous thing to us if you can donate. Even a few dollars makes a difference, allows us to send solar eclipses glasses to underserved communities around the world, telescopes in different locations, and other scientific resources, educational resources to teachers in different parts of the world as well. And it allows us to build community through astronomy. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have a great week and clear skies. And until the next video, one people, one sky. Bye-bye.
从蓝色的小点到远方的恒星，我们是同一群人，拥有同一片天空。A highlighted contour of downward kilo peak means a jackpot, and lyrics of the It hyperlumen of the first door sa daruntak han ek kon ek aslan. From the pale blue dot to the distant stars, we are one. One people, one sky.